Man, this is Deion Dawkins, man, and you're listening to The Scoop on OurScoop.com. You already know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Scoop, OurScoop.com's weekly podcast. I'm your host, John DiCarlo, the editor of OurScoop.com, the authority on Temple Athletics. Got a full house again. Jason Nieves, Johnny Swislak, Colin Schofield, Ryan Mack, and joining us via Zoom, the legendary Kyle Gauss, the stat man, the Eagles hat wearing man. Does that say champions on it? Super Bowl champions?
Does say champions. Yeah, get used to it.
Yeah. You act like I'm combating you about Eagles fandom. Like, bro,
Over the last, how long have we known each other? 16, 17, 18 years, whatever it is.
a long time.
Have been in constant battle with your Negadelphia. Like your pessimism, I have been at war with. So I'm trying to fight this.
You are generally in life as a human being.
More
You are
optimistic.
generally the type of guy to be like, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. And then when something doesn't work out, you're like, yes, this was a train wreck.
Yeah, things tend to work out for me though, is my general.
Oh my goodness. That's a
I
good
tell
way
my
of
wife
looking
that
at
a
life
lot.
now.
Like I tell Meg that a lot. She's like, why aren't you worried about them? I'm like, things tend to work out. And guess what? Things worked out. Here we are. This is champions on my head.
You act like you
Kyle coming in
are.
hot, like he's perfect. Like things tend to work out. So
tend to
we
work
have no
out.
flaws.
Wait, so Kyle, what was your contribution to the Eagles winning the championship?
So what I did was I went in the opposing team's locker room and cleaned up their jock straps. So and that's what I contributed to it.
Jesus.
What?
What?
Kyle's coming in with some hot sauce this week on the Scoop.
Seriously.
I'm talking you're the one who brought it up, John, not me.
Fine.
We can
How
start.
the rest of you guys doing? Is life working out for the rest of you guys too? Ryan just handed his mic over to Colin.
I would say life is working out pretty well right now.
See?
Ryan and I are getting ready to go on a spring break trip. So,
Where are you guys going?
Colombia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're trying to power through till Thursday, and then
Have
we'll
you-
be
I'm
by
also
the bipolar.
going south in Thursday. Are you guys going to Medellin?
We're flying into Medellin, yeah, and then we're going. One of the girls that we know, like our friend group, has a summer house, like 2 hours outside of Medellin, that we'll be at for most of the week. So I have that to look
Awesome.
forward to.
So that sounds pretty.
Did you watch Narcos?
No, I have not.
Is it too on the nose to watch Narcos while flying to Colombia?
I think it's on brand.
Yeah, but I really want to enjoy my time. I don't want to really be really nervous about something that could happen.
It was like 30 years ago.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta
the
like
past.
you have to appreciate where that country's come from.
No comment. Just a slight head nod.
I
Anyway,
do agree. I agree. I
Anyway.
agree.
so you guys are going to Colombia, Jay. Any fun spring break plans?
No, but after spring break, I do have to spend the week in Texas with these knuckleheads.
Yeah.
so I'm
Covering
I
the
think
American
I'm
Athletic
taking
Conference tournament.
I'm taking
Both.
my spring break to relax and breathe before, like in preparation for
Yeah.
spending the week with them.
Yeah.
That's the right move.
What's wrong with spending the week with us?
I didn't say anything. I just said I need to prepare. That's
You did
Are
call
we-
them-
Are you two gonna hate each other by the end of these next 2 weeks? You two.
It is a
already-
lot.
I know you
it is
guys-
a
I know
lot
you guys
Colin
live
Ryan
together.
time.
I know you guys live together, but you guys are gonna be in Colombia together, then share a hotel room for a week in
In
Texas.
Fort Worth,
A lot of
Texas,
times.
We
yeah.
already spend too much. I lived with him for we lived in like the same room for an entire year anyway.
now you're
Did
traveling.
did almost
Traveling-
everything together.
Traveling is
Traveling is a
inherently
whole different
stressful.
animal.
Like traveling can be stressful. I can see
The
this.
difference is
being,
we are not actually traveling together. Julia and I have a flight down like an hour earlier than them.
Oh,
And that
then
is big.
Julia and I
That's a
come
big
back
difference.
day earlier, so
Yeah.
it's not travel. Not technically traveling together.
that makes a difference.
It does.
It's because he hates me and he doesn't want to hang.
It's already starting.
Yep, see,
It's
there we
already,
go.
it's already starting.
Okay, yeah, I was also supposed to take those flights. Some last second stuff happened, so I ended up not taking that flight with him anymore.
What time's your flight? When do you have to get to the airport?
You guys leave at 12, and then we leave at like 1:45.
Well, what normal flight times? My flight to Costa Rica is 7 a.m. out of Newark.
What time are you gonna get to the
He's
airport?
I'm leaving my house at 4 a.m.
You guys aren't staying in Newark the night before?
No, I have kids.
Kyle, you should test
Are the
out.
kids going, or it's just you? It's just
Do you
and
think I'm
them?
bringing my kids to Costa Rica? No, they're not going to Costa Rica. No.
Kyle, you should test out airport theory.
Which you can just show up and you get there on time, isn't that?
You could
airport
show
theory?
up 15 minutes before and get there on and get
So-
to your gate on time.
Honestly, I probably could. Because like it's like the first flight of the day. I have TSA pre-check. Like it'd
Oh,
probably be
definitely
fine.
get there.
My biggest concern is the parking shuttle.
Mm.
Is like
Ah,
because like
yeah.
then you're going outside of the airport. Like you're relying on some Newark company to get you there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, sounds like you guys have some exciting stuff on the horizon, as we do on the scoop. How was that for a segue? Not bad.
I liked it.
Yeah,
Not too
thank you,
bad.
Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Diane Richardson has her first verbal commitment from the 2025 class, and our very own Colin Schofield talked to her for a story that you can only get on Al Scoop. You'll hear part of their conversation on this week's podcast. Adam Fisher's men's team has not had as much luck. They've lost 6 in a row. I did catch up with Adam to find out where the team goes from here. They're playing USF on Wednesday, how they can right the ship before they head to Fort Worth next month. Of course, they are very banged up. No Quante Berry, no Jamal Mashburn in the last game. Plus, we'll have answers to all of your mailbag questions as well. The Scoop, as it always is brought to you each week by Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured while on the road or the highway and the crash was someone else's fault, the insurance company will not be on your side. You need us, Temple Law grads, who will fight hard to get the compensation that you deserve. We only get paid if we win, so in Pennsylvania or New York, call us today at 215-261-7359. That's 215-261-7359. And you can find them on the web at greenspans-law.com. It's greenspans-law.com. Guys, on or around this date, Kyle, I did see Johnny preparing earlier. He was just on a website.
I don't
I was
doubt it.
deep. I was deep in research.
Deep in research, but you seemed frustrated, like not a lot of birthdays.
There aren't a lot of good birthdays. I had to go all around for at least some notable birthdays. They're not. I did have to use one. I'm going to say this now before we get started. I know Kyle has
Oh no, it's
cracked
gonna be
down this in
around
the
the
past.
state. It's around the state.
Yes, they're around the state, but one of them is actually like today and not like the day the
Who
pod
cares?
will come
Who
out.
cares?
But I'm just saying like that is
Tomato,
like,
tomato.
I know
It's, you know.
I know we usually try to do the day of the pod coming out and forward, but I am using one
It's okay.
that is on this day.
That's right. As
You're
long as it's not
forthcoming.
birthday,
I'm
Jake.
never gonna be angry at you for telling the truth, Johnny. It's like I tell my child.
Just
What?
okay. I don't think that gives me confidence. I think
It's
that
also a bit of a lie. Sometimes I am angry for Jordan for telling the truth. So
then
it's
why
just,
why
it's
lie to
just
your child? What
it's not
precedent
like
does
like
that set?
it's intended as truth. Like I'm telling him that's what I wish. Like I wish I would never be angry at you for telling me the truth. There's some things he tells me that are truthful. Now I'm like, yeah.
Who manages his anger better, Jordan or Johnny?
Oh,
Ooh. Jordan internalize. Jordan handles things. He takes things closer to heart. I'd say. Like I think he gets more emotional. Johnny, I think lashes out more.
okay. It's not lashing out. It's called
You
defending
raised your
himself.
voice while talking to me right there. Okay.
It's not. I did
So
not.
first of all,
I did not raise my
first
voice.
of all,
The-
watch your tone.
Kyle, I
Watch
have
your
the
tone.
board right in front
Watch
of me.
watch
My
your
levels did not go up.
You might want to go get that thing serviced because you just raised your voice to me again, young man.
Okay, there I raised my voice because there were other people talking.
I'm just saying you guys handle things differently. My
I think
5-year-old
you're
and
saying that
you
I handle
things
worse.
differently.
All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move
I love
on
it so much.
to
It's my
on
favorite
or around
pastime.
this date. Kyle, we're gonna ask you now that you're back after missing last week. Would you like to start with events
I
or
detected a little
birthdays?
tone there, a little guilt.
There's
Was
a
there a
little
little
bit,
guilt
yeah.
trip there?
First of all, I'm not as like what's the song Flagpole Sitter? I'm not sick, but I'm not well. Like I'm still not fully back. Okay, so please be gentle with me, Johnny.
I think only you and I would get that reference.
Kelly Clarkson just did a cover of it on the Kelly Clarkson show on her karaoke thing. Phenomenal. Very
Wow.
good. Yeah, worth
Interesting.
watching. I'm gonna say birthdays, Johnny.
Birthdays. All right. On February 26, 1932, this country and western musician was born in Nashville, Tennessee. He learned to play the guitar and began writing songs during his time in military service in Germany.
1932.
Johnny Cash.
Willie
Correct.
Nelson.
Johnny
Johnny Cash.
Cash is
Oh,
correct.
Man in
Kyle.
Black.
That is correct. Moving on to the next one. On February 25th, 2000, this American football player was born in Arkadelphia, Arkansas.
Arkadelphia, great name.
He was a two-time football state champion in Alabama and was ranked as a top quarterback prospect coming out of high school before coming to play at Auburn.
Okay, wait. So 2000. You said 2000.
2000.
2000.
So 28 class of 2018 Auburn Bo Nix.
Correct.
I'm so
Oh,
disappointed.
Colin, why do you think I asked you?
Colin.
Colin, why do you think I asked you who your least favorite Broncos quarterback was?
Johnny does that. He's like, I do a little bit of foreshadowing every week.
I was never gonna say Bo Nix.
But I wanted to get your mind on Broncos quarterbacks to
Well,
try and give
yeah,
you a,
got
give you a
me
chance.
on my mind how much I hate Paxton Lynch. I
So
haven't thought about it for
if
so
you're bringing
long.
back trauma,
Kyle
right
and I
eyes
covered
wide.
some Paxton Lynch games.
Oh, yeah.
No,
so
I'm just trying to keep you guys on your
Jackson Lynch
toes.
live.
I'm disappointed in myself with that performance.
I'm disappointed in you too. How do you not know that Bo Nix is from Arkadelphia? That's a sick name.
That's
I have
great.
no idea.
Moving on to the final birthday that I have on February 28th, 1999. This NBA basketball player was born.
February 28th.
Yes.
You
I
went
told
3 days in advance.
Oh yeah,
Kyle, I told you that I was using the around portion.
We're teetering into this could be next week's episode. Like around
No.
next week's.
Kyle, this comes out on the 26th. It's
I-
3
Okay.
days in advance.
I'm with Kyle on this one. 28th. What are we doing at that point?
What are you talking about? When would I use we record the next pod on March 2nd.
He's so upset.
That is 4
Ryan,
days.
calm him
The
down.
that's 4 days after. This
You have a
is
sleeping
well
voice.
within the around portion.
First of all, it's like 2 days later. You said
Why are
March
we
2nd,
arguing
right?
at the dinner table?
It's March. Yeah. Eat your dinner.
Okay, I forgot that February is whatever. I forgot
Yeah.
February is 28
It's
days.
okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
look at your knuckles. Do you know the knuckle trick to how many days are in a month? Do that.
I've
You
never
put
heard this.
you
No.
put your hands like this, and then if it's up, it's a 31, and if it's low, it's 30 or 28. So January,
I
February,
can't see
March.
him, so I don't know what he's doing.
It's a thing. Legitimately, I do it all the time. Whenever I have to think about how many days are in a month, you go, oh, okay.
It's no oversized hat. It's funny.
See, this is like when you mentioned earlier, Kyle. You said that you won't get mad if I tell the truth. I told the truth, and
I'm
then
not mad.
I instantly
He's
got
not
mad.
He's,
I'm not
it's
mad.
just an
My heart
education
rate's
thing.
61 right now. I'm good to go.
You have a heart rate monitor?
I mean, I have a watch, but no, I'm just guessing at my heart rate. But
I was like, what?
So go ahead.
On February 28th, 1999, this NBA basketball player was born. He was named the NBA's Rookie of the Year in 2019. He won the Euro basketball tournament 2017 tournament while representing Slovenia.
Luka Doncic.
Correct. That was birthdays, Jay. I'm assuming that you have some, so go ahead.
Why do you sound so disappointed?
So
I thought last episode
You
we
were
came
just
to
joining the show.
I thought we came to a partnership.
Well, considering as my partner, you instantly backstabbed me and sided with Kyle 30 seconds
Ooh.
ago, I'm not too thrilled
What's wrong
with
with siding with Kyle?
my heart rate's 55 in case you.
you. That's awesome, Kyle.
Thank you. I work hard on it.
2 days is way too far in advance. I think it's got to be like within a day.
Hey, mister, I'm going to do the day before we recorded. You literally
So
used one
much
the
better.
day before we recorded
So
2
much
weeks
better.
ago.
I wasn't on the pod 2 weeks ago, so I don't know who you're.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago.
Not to be nitpicky or anything, Johnny, but anyway, February 26, 1971, this rhythm and blues singer was born in Dallas, Texas.
71 R&B singer. Can we get another hint?
She won a Grammy in 2002.
Tony Braxton?
No. She also won a Grammy in 1997 and 1999 as well.
71?
Oh, Ryan, I am so disappointed in you right now.
Think of it. I just
You are
can't
on
come
an
up with
R&B
a-
Now show.
I'm trying to think. Of, I just can't-
But not anymore.
I'm trying to.
If there was any hope, I don't. I didn't.
1971, Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
You said she was
Yes, she was. Yeah, she won a Grammy. She won 3 Grammys, at least what I'm looking at, from 1997, 1999, and 2002. Am I getting the albums now or
give me the first initial.
E? Oh my goodness.
Erica Badu?
Erica Badu. Ryan,
Oh.
go ahead and just.
She was a kid with Andre 3000.
I'm officially looking for
Oh,
a new.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm looking for a new host of or co-host of R&B now because I can't with this one. See, this is how I think you probably used it on or around this date portion or around the date portion. This actor was
It's
born.
taking everything in me not to mute his mic right now.
This actor was born February 25th in Santa Monica, California, and I would say he's mostly known for the movie Goonies.
Sean Astin?
Sean Astin.
There we go.
Oh no, he's more known for Rudy than he is Goonies.
I don't know. I've known I knew him
Or
from
lately,
Rudy.
Stranger Things, or Lord of
Yeah.
the Rings. He was Samwise Gamgee. That was a massive.
Rudy, I figured Rudy'd be too easy, so
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna say Lord of the Rings. I'm gonna say Samwise Gamgee is
I
most.
I was Josh Brolin was going to be my second guess, but you said February 25th. But you didn't say the year. Not that I would have been parsing down the years between Josh Brolin and Sean Astin, but anyway.
1971.
51st Dates.
Oh yeah,
he's
he
the
was the
brother.
brother in 51st Dates with the lisp
Yeah.
and with the half tops. Yeah, yeah. What else you got, Jay?
I got one more. It's delving into the world of professional wrestling.
Uh-oh.
This wrestler was born February 25th, 1949, in Memphis,
okay.
Tennessee.
Jerry the King Lawler.
No,
The honky tonk
Is-
man.
no.
It's February 25th, 1949.
Oh, that's way too young.
Yeah, 1949. He won 16 world championships during his time competing in WWE and WWF.
We talked about him earlier, didn't we, Johnny? Well, you can answer, right?
Is it
No,
Ric
'cause I
Flair?
know
Is it
the
Ric-
answer.
Is it Ric Flair?
It is Ric Flair.
It is
Yeah.
Ric Flair.
Those are my three. Johnny, back over to you for Vince.
I love the crossover. It's beautiful.
Now moving on to events for on or around this date. On February 26th, 1815, this
Whoa.
former French emperor escaped exile on the island
Napoleon.
of Elba. Correct. I
Yeah.
didn't
I
even
think
get
it's not the first time you used Napoleon as a clue. Yeah,
Is it not?
No, because I remember I was about to say what I'm going to say exactly what I normally say. He really wasn't that small. He was average size height. People just made him seem small.
Quick trivia question. There is some crossover. There's a tie-in between two of the on or around this date trivia questions. There is a common thread. Napoleon. We mentioned someone else, an actor who played both characters.
I was about to say that's crazy. But say
Who
Napoleon was
played
on an Erica
Napoleon?
Badu song.
Who played Napoleon? Who played Johnny Cash?
Oh yeah, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see the Napoleon movie.
I didn't
pretty
either.
good.
I thought it was bad. Like I
What's
heard
that?
it was bad. I heard it wasn't good, but so I didn't see it.
It's long. It felt long.
Is it Ridley Scott? Am I making that up?
I don't know. Not sure. What else you got, Johnny?
Moving on to the next event on
Oh,
February
Kyle.
26th, 1951, American novelist James Jones published this novel about the U.S. Army in Hawaii before the 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor.
Oh, I think I had to read this book in college.
It was later adapted into an Academy Award-winning movie. The movie has the same name as the book, and it was directed by Fred Zinman and starred Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, and Frank Sinatra.
Um,
It's 4 words. First word is
Johnny,
from.
get your gun.
what's that?
First word is from.
From Here to Eternity.
Correct.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. It was right on the tip of your tongue. I just had to help guide you there.
Yeah.
Would you tell me the 2001 Michael Bay version of Pearl Harbor did not win an Academy Award? Is that what you're
That was
telling me?
a big guy. I don't want to miss a thing. Or no, that was not
No,
Pearl Harbor.
you're thinking of that's Armageddon, right?
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor was Ben Affleck, Jennifer Gardner, Josh Hartnett. It was
Yeah.
just like Michael Bay just take on Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on to the final event that I have on February 26, 1951, the U.S. Congress established this national park. It's noted for its fantastic shapes and coloration.
Yellowstone?
Nope. It lies in the southwestern portion of the Colorado Plateau.
Yeah. It's like a plural name, right?
I think you guys are overthinking
Grand
this.
Teton?
It is in northwestern Arizona.
The Grand Canyon?
Say
Grand
louder.
Canyon National Park?
Correct. The
Oh,
Grand
so
Canyon.
what am I thinking of?
Kerr Park. You were thinking of Kerr Park.
Yeah.
And that was my
Downtown's
portion
Kerr Park.
of on or around this day.
Jay, you have any events?
I
I'm
do,
thinking
I do. Of
arches.
course. What I have to one up Johnny by any means.
Yeah.
What else am I doing if I don't?
I don't know.
You muting my mic?
I'm very close.
Take all the hostility out, okay? And
Why am
Oh, here's the
why-
thing though. Grand Teton was also made on February 26, 1929.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
There
then
we
I guess
go.
you were technically right. Not the one I was talking
People
about.
helping
but-
people right there. That's good. That's good. That's
okay.
good.
1964, this boxer won his first world heavyweight championship title when he fought Sonny Liston for
Sonny?
7 rounds. Sonny Liston for 7 rounds.
Sony. PlayStation listed.
Sony came out in a Walkman.
Oh, was it
Uh,
1960? What
1964.
is that?
Was it
Is that
Cassius
Ali?
Clay before he became
It
Muhammad
was
Ali?
Cassius Clay.
Yeah. How about me getting the Cassius Clay part of it? I'm
Good
not doing
stuff.
too bad today. I
Yeah,
think
it's,
No, you're
it's an
not.
obscure name. Nobody knows his name before.
yeah, I had to go way back into the sweet science of boxing. Oh, well, no one else got it.
I
Yeah,
said
Colin and Ryan are real quiet over there. Johnny, I give you a pass because I know you also
I
do
don't
these.
participate in your section because I was
'Cause you're
looking at
petty.
answers before. No,
Go ahead, James. Sorry.
Oh, this is just my final one.
I unplugged his mic again. He's always acting out, always in timeout.
I think he's just doing it for attention. So if we just don't look over there, I think we'll be good.
I had to schedule a parent-teacher conference for my son, just like a normal thing. I'll schedule one for Johnny too. If we can meet and just go over how he's behaving in school.
We're gonna put Johnny's card to yellow for the day. You're on a warning right now. Yeah, no recess. You've lost that privilege. All right, my final event for this day is in 1977. This is when this team, the Jazz, was called the New Orleans Jazz. This player set the NBA record for a guard with 68 points in a game. 1977.
Jazz.
I will say he wasn't primarily known for scoring.
1977 playing for the New Orleans Jazz.
Yes.
Don't know.
Any other clues?
Yeah.
He's like widely considered one of the most creative ball handlers of his time.
Where do you go to college?
Louisiana State.
Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete.
Oh, duh.
That's it for me. Johnny, you want to outro us out of this portion?
and that was on or around this day.
Pistol Pete born where, John?
Wasn't he was born in Louisiana, right?
No.
No, not even close. Think Cole and think lockdown corners.
Cold lockdown
No,
corner.
Cole, Coal, and lockdown corners. Going once.
It was Darrell Rivas, born in Western PA. In what's the high school?
You got this. You got this. Starts with an A, ends with an A.
Come on. It's where Ditka went to high school too, right?
Ty Law.
Why
Tommy
am I
Dorsett.
Why am I drawing a blank on the name of the high school? Can you
Aliquippa.
Aliquippa, yes. Pistol Pete Maravich was born in Aliquippa?
Sure was.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous this time of the year.
Steeltown.
Probably.
But then he played high school in South Carolina, so he must have moved around.
Let's talk about this Temple men's basketball team. And to do that, I had the chance to catch up with Temple men's basketball coach Adam Fisher. Talk briefly about the 6-game losing streak that they're on. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, you'll be watching Temple play tonight at home against USF, a team that they lost to already. Again, in their last loss, no Quante Berry in addition to no Jamal Mashburn Jr. They're both day-to-day, of course. So we talked about just the fact that the backcourt, personnel-wise, right now is nowhere near what they thought it was going to be at the beginning of the season, how they get out of this funk defensively, how they can just get right heading into the conference tournament, maybe recapture some of the magic from last year. So we'll play this conversation with Adam Fisher, and then we'll have more for you on the other side. Adam, obviously, this is about as injury-riddled as you guys have been. First things first, we're a day out from you guys playing USF. Do you have any more answers on Jamal Mashburn Jr., whether you might get him for USF tomorrow?
John, we just keep taking it day by day and seeing how he feels. Again, we'll see how he feels, and we get a little bit of time off before the next one. But it's all about whatever him, the doctors tell us we're going to do. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of wait, see how he feels in the morning, and take it from there.
How much of it is, obviously beyond the obvious stuff, is like maybe getting him? I mean, you guys know, like you have the blueprint from last year. You guys went on a run, damn near got to the tournament. How much of it is just finding that sweet spot to say, if we could get him in for a game before the conference tournament just to get some reps in form, and then we see what happens in Fort Worth? Is it kind of a situation like that where you really have to, on top of just listening to the doctors and finding that sweet spot of getting him back in the lineup?
First off, a guy that's as talented as he is, right? Like whenever you can get him back, you'll want to put him out there when he's healthy enough. If it's, if he's given the okay, whether that's 1, 2, 3 games before Fort Worth, whether that's 0 games before Fort Worth, whatever it may be, any chance you have an opportunity to get him back you're going to take that chance. But I think, we showed guys on this team last year, like, hey, we can go there and make a great run. But our focus really is South Florida, and that's kind of our approach. It's the same approach we had in the tournament. This is the most important game of the season because it's the next one. And we got to focus all our effort on South Florida. As coach talk as that sounds, at this stage in the season, it's really the truth, because it's like, hey, how do we get better? How do we perform better? And it's this game. Then we regroup again.
Do you know if you have Quante for tomorrow?
Another guy day to day, see how he feels. He did some things today, so we'll see how he feels tomorrow and go from there.
I know you can't look back, but obviously at the beginning of the season, you thought you were going to have Lingrier III, Jameel Brown. There was reason to believe there. We got a lot of quality depth. You guys had felt good about what Quante was doing. And again, you've said, we can't make excuses. We have to keep moving forward. But what has it been like just on a human level, X's and O's level, to deal with the lack of depth and what has happened in the backcourt?
It's a great question and a fair one, and especially get ready for South Florida, because you watch that game and you see the record. It's 14-8, right? So you're like, hey, 21 days ago, this is where we were at. But we have to be able to adjust. And what I've been impressed with our team is our ability to fight. We've had a lot of guys miss time. Elijah Gray's missed time. There's been games where Mo Keita hasn't been able to go. Zion Stanford misses the Davidson game. So, we're trying to figure out that balance of, Shane Dezonie's missed a couple games. So it's a matter of, hey, who's able to go, who can be ready to step up. And I think, during this really challenging stretch, aside from UAB the other day, every game has been there. It's a possession or two with under a minute to go. And now we've got to be better at figuring out how to win those games. It's not good enough to just be in those. It's how do you take that next step. But that's our mentality. Hey, we got to have the right group out there, whoever it is at the end of the game, and figure out how to finish, with guys that you aren't expecting, because at this point of the season, nobody feels bad for you. Nobody feels bad you're going through an injury bug. It's next guy up, and for us, it's got to be multiple next guys up. And credit to our young guys. I think our young guys are playing well and fighting through. Dylan Batique came in, gave us some good minutes the other day, but we've started 2 freshmen for a lot of the season, and credit to those guys that keep getting better as the season's gone on.
What have you seen from Aiden during this stretch? I mean, we've talked, I think people that know his story now know, the cool rise that he's experienced was getting D2 offers at one point. His recruitment really took off, and he's a pretty humble kid. He looks more confident, I'm saying, I'm going to take the shot instead of kicking the ball around. I know it's hard to look for bright spots in a 6-game losing streak, but has he been one of them?
He has. I think his ability to grow each game, he earned his minutes because he played hard and he competed, right? So we always say, that's the base level. You have to play hard and compete in our program to get the opportunity. Now it's the next phase is, do you play smart while you're out there? Are you making the right reads? And we said, here's a guy that was coming off back-to-back career highs the first 2 games that Jay was out, and then I think he got 1 shot versus Tulsa, but he played 30-something minutes because his ability to move the ball, make the right pass, defend, be in the right spots. Everything he does is not perfect, but he plays with this energy, this passion that we need more guys to continue to do it throughout the game. I think he always does it. But I think he's been a really big bright spot for us, not just in the last 6 games, but throughout the season. A guy that has really come in and earned his impact. And it's what we talk about recruiting. We don't promise anybody will start. We don't promise anybody a certain amount of minutes. And I think he's the prime example, right? He just came in and just worked and worked and worked and worked. And, I joked to him the other day, if he had watched him play in a workout in July with our team, you probably are not thinking he's starting when you watch him. The older guys, we're showing him, hey, this is hard to be 23 years old in college and now you're a freshman. So it's a great credit to him. He's done an amazing job. It's a great credit to our coaches. I thought they've really done a nice job spending some extra time and working with him.
Obviously, I think it's safe to say Lingrier's playing days are over here. Jameel, it sounds like, is going to be out the rest of the year. What did you lose defensively with those guys and with them not being here?
Yeah, 2 guys that we thought would be, first off, key contributors throughout the season, and we like both of them as guys that can defend, great size, length, and so I think you lose some of that, but then it also gives guys an opportunity. Maybe that gives Aiden DeBison a chance to grow up faster. So you try to, as a coach, figure out, all right, this is what's going on. How do we send this as a positive? How do we flip this? And I think it's seeing guys, like Aiden DeBison, growing up quicker. I think Shane Dezonie's done a nice job too of keeps getting better and better, and that's what you look for during some of these times.
What can you guys do? The roster is what it is at this point. You're not going to get, at this point, a 6'11" all-conference rim protector is going to walk in. You guys, I have to think you knew you were going to be shorthanded, overmatched against UAB. You threw a ton of zone at them. What can you do defensively at this stage of the season other than just the obvious stuff? Guys, we need to talk more. We need to communicate more. Have you seen just glimpses here and there of saying, okay, maybe they're getting this in practice? Obviously, you guys have struggled in that area. What can you do here in late February before the conference tournament?
Yeah, it's hard to improve in certain areas this late in the season. I think our defense has made some improvements, and whether that's mixing in some different zone, our biggest thing is continuing. We got to do a better job of rebounding. We did it for a while, a good stretch where, if you look, we were winning when we are out rebounding teams. We got to get back to that. And it's, your first shot defense, we did the numbers versus the second shot defense, and we showed the team points per possession and all those things. But I think it's finishing possessions, finishing plays, and it's a combination of, hey, we got to mix some things up, and we all got to stay on the same page. Like when we do switch things up, we need all five guys knowing what we're doing and are we in zone, are we in man, how are we playing the ball screen? We got to give people some different looks to make them think a little bit more while they're out there, and we got to continue, activity. We talk to our guys all the time. We got to have hands up a little bit more, and it sounds so second and third grade, but like, hey, got to be more active, whether it's man or zone. We cannot relax, and that's what we're looking for. No more relaxing. Like, you can't guard for 28 seconds and give up a back cut layup. You got to be ready to go the full 30 seconds.
Since that Memphis game, you guys are 3-8. Everybody knows what you guys were almost able to pull off last year. You still have guys from that roster from last year. I know every year is different, but Steve remembers what it was like. Mateo remembers what it was like. Shane remembers what it was like. How much do those guys talk about, like, hey, everybody had us counted out last year, and we were a game away from going to the NCAA tournament? Do you go there in those conversations, or is it literally so process-oriented where, like, guys, we're not even thinking about Fort Worth yet because we have to focus on South Florida?
Yeah, I don't think our guys are focused yet on Fort Worth. It hasn't really come up for us. It just, you hear people say this all the time, and sometimes for me, especially when you hear, oh, this is our Super Bowl. Like, we haven't played a Super Bowl. Like, for us, this is the most important game because that's next. Like, if you look at the conference, again, just mentioned 3-8 since Memphis, right? It's that stretch of games was really challenging. You got Memphis at home, who was first place. Now you got to come back and play Tulane at home, who first place. Then from there, you got to go at North Texas, who's in first place. So, I think we showed our guys, hey, we can battle with anybody in this league. And now it's just a matter of, hey, we've had some changes, right? So we got to adjust. We got to figure out how to finish these close games. And it is this 6-game stretch where you lose in double overtime, right? And then you go on the road in a tight one versus Memphis. Then you come back, right? It doesn't go your way in a 76-75 game with a minute to go versus Tulsa. Then you lose 2-point game, FAU, overtime on the road. And we got to figure out how to get over that hump. And I thought we did that earlier this year. We were able to win close games earlier this year, and we need to get that back and figuring out, look, Jay was a closer. We all know that, right? He's a guy you could give the ball to towards the end of the game. We're going to run something, try to get it in his hands and make the right decision, shot or right read. And we got to let our guys know, hey, we just got to finish these games. We're right there. And now it's getting back to that, hey, we can win these. We got to believe it. We got to trust at the end of the game that we're ready to get over the hump.
Hasn't been long, obviously, since you played them, but the USF, that was the game that got you started on the 6-game skid. Very emotionally charged game down there. Yeah. They played North Texas tough, almost came back on them. What have you seen from them on film just in the 6 games ago, from the time you played them until now?
Yeah, when you play a team this late in the season, right, you probably end up watching 5, 6, 7 of their games prior to the first game. Then you watch almost every game since, and this team has so much fight in them. Like, they got so many weapons. They can go small. They started games where they start Shroud at the 5. They showed Jameel Reynolds at the 5. They started a young man the other day who hadn't played all season at the 5. So they have so many guys. They're mixing and moving. Even in our game, they had a young man who didn't play all season since November, played in our game. Walker gets a bucket. So, first we know you got to be ready when you play South Florida from the start, and then you got to be ready throughout the game. Like you mentioned, down 17 versus North Texas to come take the lead in the second half. Down, I think, close to 19 or 20 versus UTSA on the road and came back to win that game in regulation. So they're going to fight, and we saw it at their place. They got up, we fight back. A game goes into double overtime, and it was an emotional night for them. The whiteout crowd, too. They're super, super talented. They bring, several guys back that have that championship mindset. They added some really good pieces to that team. So I think they're super talented. We've got to be ready, and we got to send a message right from the start tomorrow night.
How do you pick your poison when you say, I don't, it sounds cliche, but I know it is hard to rebound out of a zone. If you say, okay, we got to play some zone here, but yes, you'd sacrifice some position with rebounding. Like, is that just literally like you monitoring that possession by possession, and is it that simple, or is it, because I know I hear coaches say it all the time, you watch it, it's hard to rebound out of a zone if you got to play some zone.
Yeah, the first time we played them, I believe we gave up 3 offensive rebounds in the first half on 8 possessions of zone. So it's something you talk about, right? You got to, you hope as you're trying to get your team to talk more is, in a zone you have to talk a little bit more. You got to make sure you're in the right spots. And then you got to crack down. Guards need to rebound. So we've really tried to challenge our guards. Hey, we need you man or zone. You got to be ready to rebound. If somebody's going to put a body on a big kid, whether it be Reynolds or at UAB, Yaxel, then you guys got to come down and make sure you go get the rebound. It might not be our big guy who's guarding him gets it. But we got to do a better job in man and zone rebounding the basketball.
Last question for here. We're a couple hours out from this event tonight with Kevin Nagandi, Adrian Wojnarowski, both guys just talking about the importance of what they can do to help with NIL. Obviously, Woj leaves ESPN. He's now the GM at St. Bonaventure. But what does it mean to have an event like that here tonight? Obviously, I know you're pretty close with Kevin. We had both Kevin and Woj on our OutScoop podcast last week, and Woj just knows Temple's history. He's dropping names like Mark Karcher and Howie Evans and stuff like that. But what's tonight going to be like? I know, obviously, you got to win games. You're focused on that. But to just take a night and just have fun with something like this and what it means for those guys to come back here.
First thing I'll tell you is that I'm just so grateful for their time. Both of those individuals, gotten to know Woj since my Miami days. Him and Chris Caputo are good friends, and he connected us years ago, and Woj has always stayed in touch. And I'm like, how does this guy stay in touch? He knows everybody in the world. Mm-hmm. Then when I got the job, I reached out to Kevin right away. I know, especially through you and others, and what you want to talk about, just 2 first-class individuals. Like, these guys they're so busy, and they care so much about their alma maters, their passion they have for both of their schools. Like, for them to be able to do this and spend time away from their families to come help us, it's just incredible. It's just a testament to them, and I'm so grateful. We've had Kevin speak to our team this summer. His messaging was awesome. He stays in touch, wins, losses. Spoke to the team today, which was incredible. Drew Katz came by to see him. He speaks to the team again today after speaking to our guys this summer. Again, wins and losses, number one thing, right? You got to win. But life's also about relationships and how you treat people. And we're about to see 2 guys that are as big as there are in the industry come together, and they are the most down-to-earth 2 guys you'll meet. And again, it shows you the pride they have in their universities, but it also probably shows you the experience that their schools gave them, and now they want to give that experience to others. And I think that's the best thing you can do. Guys in their position being able to give back. It's impressive. It's impressive that both of them would do this. I think Kevin's getting right back to do ESPN Sports Center tomorrow night. Woj has got 300 things going on. Yeah. But again, just so grateful for them. Grateful for the tough fund to help really put this together. Also our university, and our athletic department working together to get this connected. It's a unique experience. It's something I hope we can build on. I think you'll see more of this. But for me, it's just basically a long-winded answer of saying thank you to Kevin, thank you to Woj for willing to do this, and just their support. I say, someone sent me a text the other day that said, when you win, your phone rings off the hook and you get texts and this and that. And I got a text from Kevin the other day, just want to check on you. doesn't get better than that as a person, right? And so I'm so grateful. Anything I could do for Kevin. I got to meet his family, this summer when he came and spoke, or last spring when he spoke on campus. Just amazing family. Excited to hear about his boys and how they're playing basketball. But again, just grateful for those two to do this to help both universities. I think it's amazing.
But again, Temple is trying to snap a 6-game losing streak against USF. We're going to talk more men's hoops in the mailbag. We've got some questions there, so we'll talk more about them there. Let's move on to Diane Richardson's women's basketball team, which is now 16-10. They have won 3 in a row. They're definitely getting things back going in the right direction. But just as big a story is the fact that they got their first verbal commitment from the 2025 class, and Ariana Meridey, again, Colin Schofield, talked to her. She announced her commitment on Saturday night. She told you that she committed. She took her official here from February 4th.
February 4th
to 6th, right?
6th, she officially visited, and she told me she committed that last day on the 6th, and then announced it on Saturday.
Yeah. So obviously the Riverdale Baptist, connection there was big. Tell us a little bit about, again, like the story. If you're an owlscoop.com subscriber, you can check out the story there. We're going to play a clip from their conversation in a couple seconds here, but without giving away the whole story, Colin, tell us about how this came together, and we'll play a clip in a second in terms of her talking about why she chose Temple, but just give us the quick scan of things and what this means for the team. You did a good job illustrating, how she's going to potentially slip into the lineup here when she gets to campus.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of that like Riverdale Baptist connection. Coach Richardson coached there multiple stints. Her lead recruiter, Wanisha Smith, the assistant coach, played there as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, she said that Coach Richardson was like kind of like a living legend at that school. Both of her old high school coaches like pushed her to commit before she even met Coach Richardson because they thought so highly of her. But she still wanted to come here, visited. I mean, I don't know anyone who dislikes Coach Rich, and she felt that way right when she got here and committed on her visit. She described herself as like almost like an all around player and kind of do a little bit of everything. I mean, they're going to lose their 2 leading scorers after this season, and Tiara East and Tariana Gary. Chance to slip in there along with the front court. They're going to lose 2 main pieces as well, and Anissa Rivera and Amaya Oliver. So she could see some playing time. And Coach Richardson has played freshmen in the past. She's playing a few in the rotation this year. Julissa Molina last year saw some good minutes off
Kind of
the
a
bench.
Molina comp, right?
Yeah, she's kind of drawn like a Molina comp as someone who can kind of do a little bit of everything. She said she wants to get a little better with ball handling, shooting off the dribble, which as a forward, I think those are things you work on as a forward anyways to get better at. It was a really good conversation. She was super nice, super excited to come here, and really, really spoke highly of Coach Richardson and the entire coaching staff and just kind of that family culture that's been cultivated here by Richardson ever since she kind of started here at Temple.
Yeah, so we're going to play a clip here from their interview. You talked to her, yesterday, recording on Tuesday. You talked to her yesterday, Monday, right? Yeah. So we're going to play a clip for you here of Colin's conversation with Ariana Meridey, and then we'll have more for you on the other side.
So obviously Diane Richardson, she coached at Riverdale Baptist for a few years where you currently attend. Was that kind of like a connecting point for you guys? Was kind of that mutual connection to that high school at all?
Yes, I would say that. So she is a little legend at Riverdale. She has a banner. She has a banner and everything. So my past coach last year, he loved Miss Diane, just adored her so much. So when I first got offered, he was the first person to call me because he's no longer the coach now. And he was so excited. He was like, you need to sign right away. He was like, you don't even need to see the school. He was like, just sign right away. And I was like, okay, I need this. I still got to be there. I have to be there. And she was really warm and welcoming. She treated me like I was her daughter. I think that's what I really like about her. She's really nice. And she's really sweet, and I like her coaching ethics because it really reminds me of my current coach now, and that's what I love the most about her.
Who was your coach when you initially got offered that you said he's no longer there?
So my coach when I initially got offered is my current coach, Coach McNeil. This is his first year coaching on the girls' side at all, and he had so it was kind of a little weird. So my past coach had called me because they had talked to him, and then my current coach called me 2 days after and was like, I think you got an offer for Temple, and they're gonna call you soon. So they were both really excited for me. They both actually really like Temple more than all the other schools. They like the coaching staff because even though my coach is new, he knows a lot about Miss Diane, and he was really excited for me.
All right, so Ariana Meridey commits to a Temple program that right now is 16-10. The Owls have won 3 in a row, had a little bit of time off here. 16-10, 10-5 in conference play. As we've been saying, as long as they take care of business here, they're in pretty good shape to be set up for a double bye. They are actually, so we're recording this on a Tuesday, so depending on when you're listening to this, we'll probably get this out on Wednesday. They are playing at Memphis tonight, Tuesday, on the road, and then after that, they come back to host Rice on Friday, February 28th, and then they go down to finish up at Charlotte. Did they have a top 4 finish clinched at this point? I don't know off the top of my head. They still have to win out.
Tulane has 2 games left because they had that game against South Florida postponed a few weeks ago, and I haven't seen anything about that being made up. They sit a game ahead of Tulane right now, and Tulane, when we're recording this on Tuesday, Tulane is hosting UTSA, who's the best team in the conference right now.
Yeah, but still, they can control their own destiny to get a top 4 finish and get one of the double buys, which would certainly help them out in terms of being positioned to, do what they can win the conference tournament and see if they can get to the NCAA tournament. So we shall see how things play out for them there. Let's hop over to the mailbag, as he does every week. Mike Greenspan of Greenspan and Greenspan Injury Lawyers talks to you about staying safe on the roadways and has a tip for listeners each week to stay safe. Again, if you need him, he's the injury lawyer that you need, but wants to keep you safe on the roadway. So here is Mike's tip for this week's podcast, and then we'll dive into the mailbag.
Do you think that evading a toll is becoming a real problem? Well, it sure is in New York, where the New York State Thruway Authority announced that $70 million it has lost because of toll evaders. And now they're cracking down. If you evade tolls and you have unpaid fines, you're going to get your registration suspended. And if you drive with a suspended registration, whether in New York, Pennsylvania, or elsewhere, you're going to have a problem. Don't evade tolls. None of us like paying them, but if you avoid them or evade them, you're going to get charged.
All right, first question. We got a pretty full mailbag this week, a mix of Twitter questions and questions from our message boards. First one, this always polarizes some people. Villanova fan 35 is the screen name. This is from our Owl Scoop basketball message board. Question here. I'm sure you aren't hearing anything as of now, but could changes to the staff happen if the losses keep piling up? This is from men's basketball. Not sure if Adam Fisher is more like Fran Dunphy or Aaron McKee in terms of that. Interesting question. Kyle, what do you think here? Do you think if they, if they're a first round exit in the conference tournament, no matter what happens, if Jamal Mashburn Jr. comes back healthy again, I'd be surprised if Quante Berry doesn't play soon. I think both guys will play again before the season's over. Think Adam tinkers with his staff at all here, or do you think he says, okay, we got to retool the roster? We know we had some injuries. I'm kind of leaning on, I don't see him making changes to the staff, but I don't know the dynamic that exists there yet. I don't know. Interesting question. Not 100% sure.
I think there's a couple aspects of this in the question. The one is like the last comment where he says, is Fisher more like Fran or McKee, like that? I mean, I think that's pretty spot on, where from everything we heard towards the end of the Aaron McKee era, like there were asked to make changes to his staff there and was not willing to make.
Yeah.
And that is what it is. Like, that's your prerogative. I don't think if push came to shove, if that was the difference between Adam Fisher staying at Temple or whatever, that he would be hesitant to do that. But I think if I had to guess, I would say, I think I agree with you, where like I think on the bench, like the 3 on the bench roles are probably pretty secure. I could definitely see some tinkering on off the bench roles, and that's not necessarily to paint the picture that would come from external pressure or anything like that. That might just be that Adam Fisher wants a different mix-up with a different combination of the guys that he has off slightly further down the bench. So haven't heard anything imminent, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Next question here comes from the screen name Temple fan Al, another men's basketball question. If Temple was at full strength the entire season, he's saying, are we a top 4 team in the American? What do you guys think of this?
Is this in full strength? As in like you have?
So I'm assuming
or
Lynn Greer, Jameel Brown, no injured Jamal Mashburn Jr., no, Quante Berry, Elijah. They have been a very injury-riddled team combined with the Lingrier the third 9-game suspension at the start of the year, and now the indefinite suspension. Lingrier's done, not playing at Temple again. No one said that on the record yet, but Lynn's done. So if they were full strength and they had the roster they envisioned at the beginning of the season, is Temple a top 4 team in the American? I say they teeter on that. I still need to see more on if Lingrier the third might have been a better perimeter defender, but I still need to see it to believe it in terms of, can you shut teams down defensively? Certainly would have helped to have all these guys. I could be willing to believe if they could have been a top 4 team in the American. I think they would be the 4th best team, but I'm not quite so sure. I want to hear what you guys think of this.
My initial answer is just going to be yes. I think I agree with you, John. I think they'd be in that 4th spot. I think, but that also not only is that an if they stay healthy, I think that is also an if they gel together. We don't know. We didn't really get to see Lynn Greer play that much time when he was on the court. Jameel Brown didn't really play that much time when he was on the court. So if they were healthy and they were all able to gel together on the court, then yeah, sure, they could be a top 4 seed. But those are 2 huge ifs. Obviously it's basketball. That stuff like this is going to happen, and it just wasn't really meant to be that way. So I guess in that, I don't want to say fantasy world, but in that reality, sure, I guess they would be a top 4 team.
Yeah, kind of following up off of that, I think you also don't know what you're going to get from them if you do that, right? Because if you say Lynn doesn't get suspended, you may not see Quante Berry minutes, or that you might not see Aiden Tobias in minutes because Quante goes down, and I think it's a very you can pick and pull threads and say this doesn't happen if it leads to that. And I think you may not see an Aiden Tobias type of season where he's having now, or even a Quante Berry breakout season. So yeah.
I think they were legitimately excited about what Quante could do. I just kept hearing a lot about, hey, he's had a good off season. I don't think Quante Berry has been particularly good since Jamal Mashburn Jr. went down. He's had a lot more. I'm just saying this in an is what it is, putting it in that category. It's easier to create your own shot when you've got a scorer like Mash on the floor. I don't think he's played his best basketball. Again, did not play in the last loss. I'd be mildly surprised if he doesn't play against USF, but we'll see. But I think they were excited about Quante regardless. But I agree with you, Jay. It's a lot of different pieces going into that. Ryan, what do you think?
I'm on Jay with this one. Going into that, Lynn plays. Lynn's the primary ball scorer. Where does that leave Quante? Is he in a role where he was kind of in last year? Was kind of coming in as a reserve. Even thinking about it, Eli missed the first game with concussion. He missed the first game, and if he doesn't get hurt, if he's not hurt to start the year, does Baba even play? Because he got thrust into.
I think they were excited about Baba. I think he would have started regardless. I think the plan was always to bring Elijah Gray off the bench. Yeah,
but it's just a lot of moving parts. You've seen Aiden be able to get more confident. How is Jameel kind of factoring in it? Because you saw it. There were times where he played really well. He played really good in that game against UMass. But there are also times where he just wasn't really the best. You saw that in the game against the South.
Yeah.
So it's just really it's really kind of hard to say. Maybe in terms of pure talent, they might be top 4, but on the court, I don't know if they. I don't want to, because we've seen it before. We have a really talented team that probably should have been top 4 in the conference. They're just not.
Yeah.
So that there's just a lot of things to kind of go in there.
Off the Hook 3 on Twitter. Next question here. Everyone knows this basketball season has been disappointing. What do you think needs to be done to see improvement next year? How much of a leash does Adam Fisher have? Can he go 500 in year 3 and stay? Kyle, what do you think? I know looking at next year, we have no idea what the roster is going to look like. Standard line, but it's true.
Right.
What do you think of this one?
It's insane to guess on February 25th what the roster is going to look like next year. I think the way they construct the team kind of needs to change a little bit, to be honest. I mean, I think they've got they went really guard heavy this year, which honestly might have been a benefit just because look, they're on their fifth string point guard right now. Zion Stanford or Shane Zazzoni running the point against USF is not what they want. That's not what they envisioned going into this. So maybe it is a good thing they went guard heavy. But I think they just kind of have to reevaluate maybe the way that they look at the transfer portal. I mean, some of these guys that you see guys that come out of JUCOs now that make these massive. The best player in the conference, Yaxel at UAB, was a JUCO guy that Temple's
backyard
could have and should have recruited.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. And instead, they kind of focused on some transfer portal guys 2 years ago, and here we are. So I think it's easy to say, oh, they need to go and add like 4 big men, but like they do, and they probably need to be creative in the way that they do that because big men are like offensive linemen where if you're really good, you're not coming to Temple because Kentucky's going to pay you $3 million. So I think they have to be creative with the ways that they identify and evaluate big man talent. And I think they know that they can't just run back the same formula because quite frankly, you're not gonna be able to pull a Jamal Mashburn Jr. out of thin air like you did this year. Like
Yeah.
that was probably a once in a regime transfer portal and transfer portal pull, and now you gotta change the way you do it. Like, can he go 500 in year 3 and stay? No, I think there needs to be improvement. I think 3 years during the tenure of Arthur Johnson at Temple, 3 years has kind of been like the shit I got off the pot moment where it comes to coaches, where like either you have to commit. In fairness, he really hasn't had a success story yet where he can say, okay, I extended that guy after year 3, but he fired Rod Carey after 3 years. He fired Stan Drayton after 3 years. Aaron McKee got 4, but one of those was like a COVID year. I think 3 years is kind of where Arthur Johnson is comfortable making decisions on the future of programs.
Yeah. Next question here, Dr. Drew on Twitter, a longtime Scoop listener. Please give me a reason to continue following the Temple men's basketball program. Here's what I'll say to you, Drew. I think if anything, the curiosity should carry you along. Be curious about what Adam Fisher is going to have looking into next year. Kyle made a lot of great points about the roster construction. Has Adam Fisher talked to Arthur Johnson yet about revenue share? Is Adam Fisher in a good position to build a roster if he knows what rev share is going to look like for him? Does Diane Richardson, I know we're not talking women's hoops here, but like, have either of the coaches been talked to yet about what rev share is going to look like? That's a critical conversation for them to have because, despite the best efforts of the Tough Fund, like they don't have a couple $1 million in the reserve where they can go out and just go bing, bang, boom and just put their roster together. I think you should be curious about, are there going to be stated goals of the athletic department if they are going to be all in on athletics? I think the curiosity could be enough. I get it. You want better basketball. Everybody does. I would be very curious about the next iteration of Temple basketball next year. How is Adam Fisher going to be able to construct a roster? Again, this is not to say that Adam and his staff are beyond criticism, that every coach deserves criticism. They have not defended well. I'm sure they've made their share of mistakes. I'm not saying that you can't criticize the staff, but as a fan, I want to know what the support around them is going to look like. And I think that's an interesting enough reason to follow the program. I'll be very interested to hear how that plays out because rev share is going to be critically important for this team. And I'd be curious to know if there is a plan in place there. If there is no plan in place there, I'm not saying this to be critical. It needs to be in place soon because like the season could be over in a few weeks and you have to be able to hit the recruiting trail, roster construction trail with knowing what resources you have or don't have. If you don't, no coach is going to be successful here.
Yeah, and to that point of if you're looking for optimism, the current pre-rev share situation, Temple is never going to be successful in.
Yeah.
Like Temple just strictly NIL, and that's not to be a slight against Andy Carl or the Tough Fund. Temple in its current situation of just NIL is not going to be able to compete when it comes to strictly money with big programs. Rev share, if done right, if Temple decides that it wants to play big time basketball and big time football and wants to commit to it, in theory, Temple could compete in that aspect. Whether or not they will remains to be seen.
Next question comes from our friend Glenn, a longtime Scoop listener on Twitter. We've seen some schools get rid of the spring games. Has there been any talk about Temple doing anything similar? I know that Temple has retooled their format with the spring practice already. No, their spring game is set for April 12th at 2 p.m. We have that from Rich Berg. We have the spring schedule. I think we told you guys that we're going to be able to see a lot of spring practice as reporters, but if they're kind of banged up and Casey Keeler's not seeing what he's liking, I don't know. I'd still be shocked if Casey Keeler like pulls the plug on the spring game. I could see them doing like a spring showcase or something like that. But no, there's been no talk of that yet. We'll see how things look in the future. But no, interesting question, Glenn. But no, unless something changes, spring game, Trey and White game is set for Saturday, April 12th at 2 p.m. Our friend Evelyn from the Temple News, the news staff. Another question here. A lot of you guys, you're drumming up some Scoop support amongst your Temple News colleagues. Good to see. This is Evelyn's question. Me personally, I see a huge parallel between the Sixers and Temple men's basketball. Do you all agree? And on another hand, what's the best way to get students involved in supporting Temple athletics with some hard to watch teams, football, men's basketball? I mean, the Sixers are a total.
Embrace the tank.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've watched 4 minutes of Sixers basketball this year, and I watched it on Christmas Day, and I don't plan on watching them
Didn't they win?
again.
Didn't they play well on Christmas Day?
Yeah, and that was great, and I'd like to keep it there. I mean, both teams have had injury issues. Yeah, they both had really disappointing seasons. I don't know if you guys have any hot takes in lumping Temple men's hoops and the Sixers.
I think it's a little
together.
different. I think the Sixers are complete. That like it, I don't think we're in that conversation of saying like Temple was that bad of like falling apart at that moment just because of the injuries and like there's things that like they can control that they have taken care of, and it's like the Sixers, it feels like it's the opposite in the same way. They did just lose to 30 last night.
First of all, they're actively tanking right now. Let's just call that.
Oh yeah.
But you can't give Temple the injury excuse and not give the Sixers the injury excuse.
Oh yeah.
The best player in the league last year is a hobbled shell of himself that can't go up and down court. I just think they're different in the sense that like Temple was probably a little bit of like playing above its britches team for the first part of the season that was like kind of overperforming, and the Sixers are an immensely talented roster that look horrible together. So other than the fact that they both play basketball and are both bad at basketball right now, that might be where the similarities end.
Kyle, do you think we should start doing the Keith Pompey thing and after Temple games say what are your major takeaways from the game?
I want to go back to what we used to, meaning what I used to, where I would just open up paint and draw how the game made me feel after every game. I want to go back to that. We'll just after every game we'll tweet out this is how the game made me feel.
Yeah, that was good stuff. The other part of Evelyn's question here: what's the best way to get students involved in supporting Temple athletics with some hard to watch teams? The marketing question here has been an ongoing one. Do I think that they have done a particularly good job of promoting events here? I don't. Kyle, you were talking about this. Like, when did they first let people know that was it the Tulsa game was going to be the Hooters birthday game?
The day before the Tulsa game. It used to be they went for like a month beforehand. They'd be like, "This is Hooters' birthday. Come out, bring your fans." All this. I didn't hear any mention of it until the day.
I didn't know it was Hooters' birthday until I walked out onto the concourse and I got scared by one of the mascots right in front of me.
Which mascot was it?
Yeah.
It was the one that I was telling you about that I texted you that I told hi for you. I can't even remember.
And I was not there in your moment of need.
You weren't. I was actually. That's why I texted you. I was like, I can't believe you're not here on your favorite holiday.
What was I gonna do? Come tell that mascot you stay away from my Johnny.
I don't know. Something.
Bad mascot.
It's bothering me that I can't think of the name of the mascot. It'll come back.
It's time for some EMDR therapy on the next episode.
No, I'm with Johnny on this one. I was taking photos for that game, and Swoop tapped me on my shoulder, and turning around and seeing Swoop kind of scared me. Not gonna lie.
I love it. Look, I'll say this. This is a Kyle. I'll tip this over to you to finish this out here. Like, I completely get. This is the conversation that goes on and on and on. It's hard to market a Temple. I get it. We are not in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We're in a pro sports city, but I don't understand how hard it is to look at what other peer institutions are doing. What does Cincinnati do? What does Tulane do? What does SMU do? I get it. It certainly helps when the team is winning. Doesn't take a rocket scientist, but the best way to get students involved, I don't know. Attendance is down a lot of places. Johnny did. I legitimately giving him a shout out here. Did a great story last year for our advanced sports reporting class on college attendance. The whole class did a package on that. Ryan, you were in that class too, right? Yeah. So give a shout out to Ryan as well. Jay, you were in that class as well. Yeah. How about that? A little synergy here. But attendance is down in a lot of places. Do I think that there are things that they could do here to improve that? Yes. I mean, say what you want to say. I mean, this was an undefeated team at home. They won their first 10 games at home, and you would never know it. So I get that this is a temperamental pro sports like fan base, but I don't know. I don't know what benchmarking. I've just never seen any stated goals. I've never seen a detailed strategic plan. I hear Casey Keeler talk about it more. In my conversation with him, he's like, there's no reason why we can't be a Tulane and Asper. Like, it doesn't take a rocket science to say that, but I feel like Casey gets it. You've seen Adam Fisher try to do some things like buying pizza for people. He'll get involved. I know he had initiatives that he wanted to get in place in his first year that the athletic communication staff couldn't even execute. So, hate to say it. No, I think they could do a much better job there.
I think it's wild to me the number of people whose job is directly dependent on Temple selling tickets and being successful that seem to put very minimal effort towards Temple selling tickets and being successful. Even just like I'm not going to pretend that I know the inner workings of every athletic department.
I'm
I'm
sure
only
they've
gonna
had budget cuts, to be fair,
Sure.
but
Great. Okay. Let's view something that costs nothing, that costs 0 cents then. If I, as a father of two, want to bring my kids to a Temple game, I go to Temple basketball's Twitter account. I see no links to buy tickets. I see no promos. I see nothing. I go to Wichita State's Twitter profile. At the very top, I see 4 game package, $30, one buy single game tickets here. The bare minimum stuff necessary to facilitate somebody going to a game, Temple just seems to constantly fumble and fail at. There needs, if you're a program like Temple and you're competing against all these other sports programs and you're competing against professional programs, you're competing against restaurants in the city and you're competing against everything, you need to make it as least resistant to attend your event as possible. It needs to be the smoothest process. Oh, I bought 4 tickets and I got popcorn and I got these 2 vouchers and it was instantly taken out and here all this stuff went and none of that stuff happens. It's like pulling teeth to get people that want to support a program to be able to support a program. And this isn't anything new. You can point towards budget cuts. Temple's struggled this for as long as I've known about Temple and been affiliated with Temple. I can't tell you the last time. You have to go back to like 2010, 2011, 2012 for me to go like, okay, they were consistently getting good crowds to basketball games.
Yeah.
It's been 15 years. Any excuse you might have had, long gone.
And I think just to add to this a little bit more, I know we talked about this for a while, but like even just the student ticketing aspect, like has also like they recently changed that I think 2 or 3 years ago to completely online, and the find the link for student tickets and then go and buy it is actually a headache. There you have to go to the website, click a link there, then click another link, and then add your email and then add it to your Apple Wallet. Like it's like I know I'm making like this process probably sound a lot harder than it actually is, but it's when students are already wary about going to a game for a team that has lost, say, 6 games straight, they're not gonna go those 2 extra steps to download the ticket rather than just walk up to the Leocore Center box office and just get one. Like you can't even do that anymore.
Wait, for a free ticket, student ticket, you have to do all those steps to get
Yes.
when I went to Temple, you just showed up with your student ID.
No, you
You
can't do
entered
that
through
anymore.
any entrance with your student ID and they swiped in, they said, here you go,
Nope.
come on in.
And because this was a problem that happened 2 years ago, because that like when they switched over, they didn't even really market the switch over. So then there were students and fans trying to just walk in and they couldn't. They got turned away and had to create a profile and do all of this on the website.
Again, it needs to be the least resistant path to getting these people in the door. If there's people that actually want to come in, spend money on concessions, and support the program, you need to make it as easy as possible for them to get in. And Temple, time and time again, just trips over its own shoes.
last question here to finish us out is from the screen name Stapler01 from the football board. What's a realistic best case and worst case scenario for football in Casey Keeler's first year as head coach? Who wants to start us off here? Who wants to talk some football here? Colin wants to talk some football. Colin Schofield, ladies and gentlemen. Disappointed Broncos fan.
The best case in
How's Cortland Sutton doing?
I love Cortland Sutton. He's
Yeah.
great.
Former American Athletic Conference player.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I think the best case for anyone would just like get into a bowl game. I mean, if you want to go super high, win a national championship. But I don't think anyone
realistic best case or
realistic best case here would be like, get into a bowl game, like go 6-6, 7, maybe even 5-7, would be like a really good case scenario. I think get into a bowl game, show that you're competitive, like even in losses. Have guys who like clearly want to be there and are working their butts off every single game, no matter like if you're getting blown out or not. I think it's my best case, and then I guess worst case would probably be you go worse than 3-9 like they have been for the last 4 years, and there's clearly culture problems and coaches fighting on the sideline. I guess it's just
just painting this like this dystopian thing, like
somehow like
guys putting up their dukes. Come on, Casey, come on.
I think
what you
that's
got?
pretty bad. I don't even know if that's realistic. But if there's clear culture problems, because Keeler's talked about how important the culture is for him as well. If there's like culture issues with the guys he's brought in, and then if you're going 2-10 and aren't competitive at all. Like, I don't think that's ideal considering like the pedigree KC Keeler brings. I think a lot of people have expectations for better than 3-9 for KC Keeler. Obviously, it's like tough to kind of assess what that record could be, considering that the spring transfer portal window hasn't hit yet, and we still have no idea what the roster is.
Yeah.
I think that's probably best and worst case scenarios.
Johnny, do you see a similar dystopian scenario where coaches are fighting on the sideline?
I don't know if I see coaches fighting on the sideline in this worst case scenario, but I think like a worst case scenario would be like trying to like with. I mean, I think I agree. Like I think if you get less than 3 wins, I think it raises alarms. But I think the even worst case scenario is trying to put in this new Tyler Walker offense, and you're trying to be like push the run game, and you continue to be one of the worst rushing offenses in the conference. Like if this whole MO is you want to focus on the run game, you want to use a mobile quarterback, have a strong offensive line up front, a good running back, and you're still sitting at the bottom, towards the bottom of the conference, I think that could be a part of that worst case scenario where it's like, all right, you're year one in, like maybe you didn't get the guys you wanted, but like still to be at the bottom and have no improvement, I think would raise my alarms for worst case scenario. As for best case scenario, I think any amount of wins over 3 wins is best case scenario in a realistic world. Like I don't think it's entirely, maybe I'm being unrealistic, but I don't think it's entirely realistic to jump to like a bowl game in the first year. I mean, the first year of a new head coach, try and implement a new offense with a roster that still isn't fully constructed in spring practice. Like I think there are a lot of parts that still need to come together before that can be a realistic best case scenario. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think a best case scenario that's realistic would be 4 wins, maybe 5 wins and you miss a bowl game or something like that.
I hope Casey Keeler goes out and wins 6 games so he can come on here and tell you how much he hates you and how much you fueled him to have a good season.
I'm happy that I was able to fuel him in that scenario.
Kyle loves Jason and Johnny drama.
I'm just sitting here.
but
Just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round.
I do agree with Johnny. I think like anything more than 3 wins, I think it's kind of not unrealistic, but like when a coach comes in and he's trying to set a culture and he's trying to establish what type of football he's trying to play, like during his tenure, the first year particularly isn't the best determination of that. Like you're still trying to figure everything out. So I think anything more than 3 wins, I'd be like, okay, like it shows progress. They're giving effort, and I think that's above all, that's what I'd be looking for.
What do you think, Ryan?
If they make a bowl game, that's sweet. I'm not hoping for like the Rose Bowl or nothing like that, but like the Myrtle Beach Bowl, something like that. Like I can
Lions Ketchup Bowl.
Oh my God, the famous Idaho the Potato Bowl. I wouldn't care. Like that is fine. That is so much better.
This is just more about what can Ryan Mack do for a coverage road trip.
No, now that you're saying it, maybe. But now also that winning a road game. Like legit. Obviously,
it would be, but yeah,
like
as
legit.
much as we're like Kyle's like, ooh, but like no, that I hate to say it, like that's a big step forward for the next step. Like,
you haven't won since 2021. Obviously, yes, want to see them go win more than 3 games, and say even like they go like 4-8, which don't really want them to, or like 5-7, but they win a road game, or even better, they win a road conference game. Good, that's improvement. Which, as dumb as that may sound, something that you haven't been able to do since I was in high school. Like putting that into perspective. I was a senior in high school last time they won a road game. I was a sophomore the last time they won a road conference game.
Just going to school every day in your best Catholic school uniform,
and just with my polo and my khakis. It was November. I was wearing pants. I was wearing regular khaki pants, not the khaki shorts during the time, and the boat shoes. But
let him finish. Let him go with it.
No, I know.
This is good. This is good podcast audio right here.
But like, yeah, like that is something that I would obviously kind of like want to see. Also, like worst case scenario, I'm wholeheartedly with Johnny on this one. You're talking about like committing to the run, and you want to have that. Not being able to do it effectively is probably my worst case scenario.
For me, best case scenario, they add a few key pieces in the portal after spring ball. They win 6 games. They go to a bowl game. I think it's possible. Again, it is February 25th. You can bring like the hope springs eternal thing from baseball into like there's optimism before every season. I will say this. I wish Stan Drayton nothing but the best. I think he'll be a very good running backs coach at Penn State. But seeing so far what Casey Keeler has done with not just roster construction, but the construction of his staff. These guys just have a better idea of how to run a college football program in 2025 in terms of having a general manager. I really like Stan as a person. I think he's a good human being. We've talked about this a million times over. The previous players did not. By the end, it was bad with Rod Carey. I think there's a lot of love for the players who are still here and Stan Drayton. Stan was a little overmatched. The guy that Arthur should have hired is now up at Syracuse. He just made a mistake. Was the wrong hire. Now, I think Casey, the guy knows what he's doing. The question will be, best case scenario, you add a quarterback in the spring, you add a couple of offensive linemen in the spring, they go out and win 5 or 6 games. Like Ryan said, you win a couple games on the road, you see discernible progress. Worst case scenario, they strike out. They tried adding Alex Orji, ends up at UNLV. Worst case scenario, you strike out, you lose out on a few guys in the portal, you don't have your quarterback. Again, I think Evan Simon is a little bit better than he showed. I mean, he was running for his life constantly. Worst case scenario, you don't have your quarterback, you have a porous offensive line, Tyler Walker's not able to run what he wants to run, and they're just riddled with injuries. I don't think that we are going to be covering, regardless of how many games they win next year, I don't think we're going to be covering a program next year where we say, do these guys know what they're doing? A lot of what they are doing so far, again, on paper, it makes sense. The way they recruit locally, the way they have constructed their coaching staff, it looks and sounds like it makes sense so far. Jesus. Kyle, close us out here. Best case, worst case scenario for the Temple football program.
Yeah, I appreciate you including me, John. 3, this is 4th stop for Casey Keeler. Rowan, he won 1 less game than the previous year. Delaware, 2 more games than the previous year. Sam Houston, 2 more games than the previous year. I think the floor is 3 wins just because you got 2 should-be wins, UMass, Howard. You're facing 4 first-time head coaches in the American after that. There should be opportunities for you to get 3-4 wins. I think the ceiling's the same. Whereas, as you said, we're like, look, if everything hits right, it's the same as like we talked about basketball. I can't tell you on February 25th what the roster is going to look like on May 1st. It's going to look drastically different on football. I think if everything aligns right, then maybe it's a 6-win season. I think more likely is, to be fair, this is kind of like what Stan's first season was, where like, yeah, even if they go 3-9, you feel optimistic and you feel like they're in the right way. They're going the right way. Because remember that first season, they found EJ Warner. They were winning a bunch of games or losing a bunch of like close games. And you kind of thought they were on the right trajectory. The real issue, I think, is going to be what happens from year 1 to year 2. Is Casey Keeler's staff able to take that step that Stan Drayton's staff never took? So I'll say the floor is 3-9. The ceiling is 6-6.
Well said. That'll do it for this week. We'll have more Temple Hoops coverage and updates for you next week. Appreciate all the mailbag questions. Appreciate your support of the pod. We're getting closer and closer to spring ball, so always good to close out the pod with a football question. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.